Unfortunately, what we know from national data and what we also know from data from our institutional partners is that students who are from traditionally underserved backgrounds in higher education do not participate in high impact practices at the same level as others, the majority students. We have to start thinking about strategies to eliminate those barriers to student participation in high impact practices. We found that when students of color, racially minoritized students, students from first generation status, from various socioeconomic status across the board, when they actually participate in high impact practice, they report high learning gains and they actually have higher student achievement outcomes. And that's one of the things that we need to focus on, is how do you eliminate those barriers if we know for a fact that there is a benefit to their participation in those practices. One of the things that I think that we need to do is help students understand the purpose and the relevancy and be more transparent about why we're asking them to participate in high impact practices. When we look at our employer survey data, we have discussions about this is what employers want, but this is the gap that they actually see when recent graduates are hired at their place of business. We have to work with students to help them articulate what it is that they're learning as a result of participation in these high impact practices. So I would want to really hone in on the relevancy and the purpose, and then what does this mean for their lifelong success. We say at AAC&U we strive for preparation for work, life, and productive citizenship. So how is their participation in high impact practices actually helping them meet those goals? So I would want them to focus on that particular question. If I had to ask them additional questions, I would really continue to focus on the barriers. What are your barriers? What is it that we can actually do to promote your participation in high impact practices? I also really want to make sure that we are engaging in culturally responsive teaching and learning practices. And I want to make sure that what we're doing is not alienating them from their participation. Do they see themselves in the high impact practices? Do they see their backgrounds, their culture, their experiences actually being a part of the design of the high impact practices? So those are some of the elements I would focus on. Oh, there's so much more that we need to investigate, but I do think that encouraging campuses to address questions about equity, not just equity in participation, but equity in outcomes as a result of high impact practices. I also think that we need to work with faculty, and with not just faculty, but educators across the institution, to embed these educational practices, these evidence-based teaching and learning practices in a more intentional way. And we can't assume that everyone on campus, just because we say service learning or undergraduate research or community-based research or global learning experiences, that everyone's going to understand how to design a high-quality practice. So we really need to put the development element into the work of being intentional about high impact practices at our institutions.